and warm personal regard for each other. This pioneer spirit is still a way of life in Indiana, and it's still a way of doing business at Indiana National. Come to Indiana National. See how well old-fashioned values work hand in hand with state-of-the-art banking services, and how well they work with your personal and business banking needs. When you're looking for a bank you can depend on, come to Indiana National, pioneers in banking.
You're watching the #1 newscast in the state on WRTV. The news tonight with Howard Caldwell and Clyde Lee. Sports with Ken Double. And weather with meteorologist Bob McClain.
Good evening, everyone. A prime suspect in the triple murder of a Fort Wayne newspaperman and his family is behind bars tonight. Derek Thomas reports the teenager has yet to be charged in that case, but police are confident they have the right man.
The grisly murders of Dan, Jane, and Ben Osborne had frustrated Fort Wayne police investigators for nearly 4 months. Leads and solid clues were hard to find, but police artists put together this composite sketch of the man they were looking for from the information they collected. Their big break came Thursday night when police arrested 18-year-old Calvin Perry and charged him with burglary, battery, and robbery of a 74-year-old woman. After talking to him, he became a prime suspect in the Osborne case.
Detective work, through their investigation, he has revealed that he has intimate knowledge of a variety of crimes in the south part of Fort Wayne, including the Osborne crime, that only a person who was involved in some manner would have that sort of knowledge. So he has an intimate knowledge of the crime and of the crime scene. He's also made an admission in regards to that crime.
So he has confessed?
Well, the proper term would be he's made an admission against his own interest in that particular case.
Police believe Perry acted alone in the Osborne slayings. He lived just 3 blocks away, and they believe he was a part of a one-man crime wave in the area. In all, police believe Perry committed 14 crimes on Fort Wayne's south side, mostly burglaries. However, in one of the cases, an elderly woman was beaten and later died. According to Allen County Prosecutor Stephen Sims, Perry will appear in circuit court Tuesday morning. At that time, he may or may not be charged in the Osborne case.
There's a very, very strong possibility that some charges will be filed tomorrow morning. There may be a series of charges that is will depend on the amount of paperwork that we can get through. The Fort Wayne Police Department has been compiling and has delivered its latest compilation to us at 2 o'clock this afternoon. We'll continue to work on it, but we certainly expect some charges. The exact timing of them we can't give you at this time.
Perry is currently held on $75,000 bond. Reporting from Fort Wayne, Derek Thomas for the news, Channel 6.
The murder of a Linton girl last July is expected to be detailed this week in a trial opening in Davies County. Cy Jenkins found unusually heavy security in the jury selection for one of 2 17-year-old youths charged with the crime.
Christopher Deckard spent most of his day hearing talk about his possible death penalty. He appeared little affected.
No, I better not do that.
But guards said Deckard was smiling less than he had for weeks. It was smiles from Deckard and co-defendant Michael Poling following their return from California last summer that added fuel to the fury of Linton. It was here that 15-year-old Cindy Lou Mason left a weekend carnival to become a victim of what prosecutors called a Charles Manson-type slaying. Her partially mutilated body was found in an abandoned house near Linton, shot to death and stabbed. Police report no threats against the defendants, but tight security, including checks with metal detectors, marked the opening of the trial. Armed deputies watched closely those entering and leaving the courtroom. The trial was moved to Davies County by statewide publicity of the crime. Several counties near Linton had been eliminated as offering no possibility of a fair trial. Deckard sat unblinking in the courtroom, his hands clasped most of the time, as attorneys questioned 17 prospective jurors about their knowledge of the case and their opinions on the death penalty. The defendants are being tried separately. As Deckard's attorney Larry Wagner explains it, the best way to go for his client. Opening arguments are scheduled for later this week. Deckard's trial is expected to last at least a couple of weeks. Then Poling, the man Deckard says was the actual attacker in the crime, begins the same process in the same courthouse. From Washington, Indiana, Cy Jenkins for the news, Channel 6.
Two men who ran a silver recovery company say they are not guilty of mail fraud. William Roberts and William Riddle were arraigned today. Roberts left court with his attorney, Jim Voiles. The 35-year-old, who now lives in Hawaii, ran Consolidated Silver Recovery Company. The firm sold silver recovered from used X-ray film. Allegedly, the money from the silver sales was never passed back to hospitals and others who provided the film. The sick-in job action at the Pendleton Reformatory appears to be over. The weekend job action by guards was called in protest of overtime policy and the reassignment of 3 guards. Corrections officials say 16 guards called in sick over the weekend. They say the 16 will be interviewed and action will be taken on a case-by-case basis, but there could be a recommendation of a suspension.
Marion County Prosecutor Stephen Goldsmith says unless some prompt action is taken by the state legislature or the Indiana Supreme Court, thousands of convicted felons in this state could be set free. The problem? In misinterpretation of Indiana's guilty plea law. If a trial judge omits a few words or paraphrases the provisions of the law concerning minimum and maximum sentences, Goldsmith believes the guilty plea could be tossed out. The prosecutor wants the state Supreme Court to hold an emergency hearing in the legislature to rewrite the law.
Unemployment is going up in Indiana, but it's still well below what it was a year ago. Figures released by the State Employment Security Division show the November jobless rate at 10%, up from the October rate of 9.3%, but still under the November 1982 rate of 12.8%. One top Republican legislator ignored the bad unemployment news, however, and came out swinging on the issue of economic development. House Majority Leader Richard Dellinger said he intends to spread the good news that the Orr administration is creating jobs and putting Hoosiers back to work. He called on the Democrats to stop being such pessimists.
A pessimist is one who feels bad when he feels good, for fear he'll feel worse when he is better. And bearing in mind what the Greeks used to do to the bearers of bad news, I'm going to bear some good news.
Dellinger did not have the new unemployment figures when he gave the speech, but said he would have given it anyway. House Democratic Leader Mike Phillips said he didn't know how Hoosiers could be expected to feel good in light of these latest numbers.
6 months in prison and a $10,000 fine is the sentence handed down to former EPA official Rita Lavelle. She was indicted for perjury and for not telling Congress the truth about her dealings with the former employer and the EPA's Superfund cleanup grants. Lavelle calls her prosecution an unbelievable nightmare and says she will appeal. And an apology today from Charles Wick, head of the U.S. Information Agency, which says he meant no harm by secretly taping some of his office phone conversations. When reports of the tapings first came to light, Wick denied he'd ever done such a thing. Today, he said he's turned over 81 transcripts and 4 tape cassettes to a pair of congressional committees.
Coming up, a report on incest and how it has become a larger problem in Marion County.
And a legislator proposes giving a tax break to companies. His proposal could mean a break to some parents as well. Stay tuned.
The line. The hood line is low for less wind resistance and more visibility. The roof line is long for more headroom and usable space. The outline is aerodynamic for more performance. The new line of Civic hatchbacks from Honda. The line is drawn for the future.
From European science comes a first in dental care. New Checkup with fluoride to attack cavities, plus Microsil to attack plaque. Push-button Checkup, a toothpaste scientifically formulated to help break the bacterial bonds of plaque. Brushing with Checkup not only removes plaque, but reduces plaque buildup as it polishes. Helps gums stay strong and healthy. Checkup, the plaque attacker.
It's Kohl's Baby Week, and time to stock up on things you need for baby. Our selection includes your favorite brands on sale. Purity diapers just $6.99, so stock up. Stock up on Gerber's plastic pants on sale. Stock up on Carter's. Save 25 to 50% on our entire Carter's layette. Stock up on all those very necessary things babies need now while they're on sale during Baby Week at Kohl's. Oh, how we value our customers.
New district boundaries and election rules may have current members of the Indianapolis School Board seeking the same seat in one of the new districts. Under the guidelines adopted by the State General Education Commission, 5 board members would be elected by voters in the districts in which they reside, and 2 others could run at large. Well, currently, the members are elected on a citywide vote. Now, the new boundaries have members Dick Guthrie and Paul Neal living in the same district, and that could make them opponents in the May election.
If I run, I will be against Paul if Paul runs. But I am leaning toward running.
When do you think you'll know?
In about 2 weeks.
Dick said he's leaning towards running. I fully expect him to run, and I'm certainly intending to run, so we'll just have to see how it comes out.
Either man also has the option of running for at-large post, although Neal said the effort would be so great it would not be worthwhile. The boundaries also put members Lillian Davis and Hazel Stewart in the same district, but they are not up for re-election until 1986. The system also staggers elections, with 4 members picked this May and 3 others chosen in 1986. Howard?
Indiana companies would be encouraged to provide daycare service or hire disadvantaged youngsters under a proposed State House bill. Indianapolis Democrat John Day has introduced a bill in the House on both of those subjects. Under the first bill, companies which set up daycare centers for their employees would be allowed to take 10% off their state income tax bill. The second bill would give tax credits to firms which give summer jobs to teens from low-income families.
Another bill introduced in the House would let first cousins marry if one or both are incapable of conceiving a child. Under current state law, first cousins may marry if they are both over the age of 65.
Perhaps you watched the ABC movie Something About Amelia. The movie dealt with the sensitive topic of incest. Some studies show 1 out of every 6 women is a victim of incest for the age of 18. And here in Marion County, the problem is increasing. Tracy Horth reports.
My father's been messing around with me.
Incest. To some, it's the last taboo.
They're forced to have sex, they're forced to give oral sex, they're forced to go through sodomy.
Statistics indicate the majority of incest victims are female, their ages ranging from infancy to teens. The perpetrators, their fathers. There are exceptions, like an uncle or a brother. At Indiana University Sex Institute, studies show 9 million, or 3.9% of America's 226 million inhabitants, have been involved in incest. Here in Marion County, the Child Protective Services Department says in 1982, 518 children were reported as victims of incest. In 1983, that figure rose to 594, an increase of 13%. However, no one knows if that is an actual increase in cases or an increase in cases reported. How do incestuous relationships begin? One theory shared by Peggy Weber of the Family Growth Center, it doesn't start as a sexual one, but a need on the part of the adult for support.
They expect the children to understand their problems and also to meet all of their emotional needs, and then eventually they want the children to meet some of their sexual needs too.
Coral Cole, affiliated with the Julian Center, has yet another theory.
A common element in an incestuous family is a family where it is believed that the father has more rights than anyone else. And the more extreme that view is, the more chances are laid for incest.
Both women agree that incest does not discriminate. It crosses all economic, social, religious, and ethnic lines. The family in Something About Amelia, members of the comfortable middle class. When does a child realize that what's occurring doesn't happen to all children? Some discover it when they first go to school. Legally, anyone who suspects an incestuous relationship is obligated to report it. The cases will be investigated and could result in charges. But the Family Growth Center and the Julian Center stress counseling, obviously for the victim, but also for the perpetrator.
My wife says that Amelia's in very bad shape. I don't want her to hurt.
Tracy Horth for the News, Channel 6.
If you need help or want to report what you believe to be a case of incest, the local chapter of the National Association of Social Workers has a hotline number you can call right now, and that number is 926-6107.
A California judge has dismissed child molestation charges against the stepfather of a 12-year-old girl. The girl had been held in solitary confinement for 8 days for refusing to testify against the man. The judge said there was no independent confirmation of the charges and called the dismissal an abrogation of justice.
Wednesday and Thursday, the Waterbed Warehouse will save you money getting the best night's sleep ever, starting with sheets from just $17. Come see, we're the Waterbed Warehouse.
To lose weight, these dieters chose Slim Fast over Cambridge.
I chose Slim Fast to lose weight. It's much more delicious than Cambridge, just like a chocolate shake.
I picked the Slim Fast diet plan, and I lost weight. It has more protein than Cambridge, plus fiber and bran.
I chose Slim Fast, and I lost weight. It costs less than Cambridge, and the taste, terrific.
Get Slim Fast, the delicious way to lose weight.
Gallon. Gallon.
Come on, Indianapolis. Get that special feel in a Dallin Oldsmobile. 5350 North Keystone.
Bob McLean weather bears the seal of approval of the American Meteorological Society.
Hello, everybody. Well, our traveler's advisory that was in effect for about the northern third of Indiana has now ended, as the precipitation is doing much the same thing. It's starting to get lighter or ending. In fact, it has ended now in much of the northern and western reaches of the Channel 6 viewing area, and also throughout western portions of Indiana. Still some light sleet or snow being reported at Indianapolis and also at Fort Wayne. It's raining down around Cincinnati and east of Louisville. The snow continues from Fort Wayne on over toward Findlay and Toledo, Ohio. You can see the effects of the colder, drier air coming into western Illinois on the heels of brisk northerly winds. The clouds are beginning to break up there, and as the night wears on, and particularly tomorrow, we may see a kind of a cloud cover breaking up in much of our area. Taking a look at the Midwestern radar now, we find a rather extensive area, but this is all rain from western Kentucky and Arkansas south to the Gulf Coast, as another storm appears to be winding up, but this one is going to be affecting the East Coast, could bring a major snowstorm to that area by tomorrow night. The snow continues from around the Cleveland-Mansfield area on eastward into the western portion of the Keystone State of Pennsylvania, but as you can see, the precipitation is gradually diminishing over much of Indiana. If we take a look at our satellite pictures, you can see that drier air coming in. Notice this little arc of clouds right in through here. Well, as we start the motion, you will see that the arc of cloudiness has been dropping in a southeasterly fashion. This is the leading edge of the push of the Arctic air, another surge from that Canadian icebox that is spilling into the north-central portion of the United States and be with us for the next couple of days. You can see the northern edge of this cloud shield is also moving in a southeasterly fashion. The national map will show that storm now south of Shreveport, Louisiana. It's got the ingredients, certainly got an abundance of moisture, and will probably churn in a northeasterly fashion, and as I mentioned, could bring a very wintry type weather pattern to much of the Atlantic seaboard states by tomorrow night. But for us, high pressure will be dropping in a southeasterly fashion, bringing another surge of that Arctic air into our region. By tomorrow afternoon, it appears that the high will have drifted southeast to around Minneapolis, with the back edge of the clouds moving across central Indiana, still snowing to the east and southeast of our region, with some partial sunshine in much of the eastern plains. You can see the influence of that next surge of Arctic air, with readings in the single digits and teens over a large part of the area, with readings generally 20s and 30s east and southeast of our area. Well, we've just dropped below that 30-degree mark, cloudy and 29, winds picking up out of a northerly direction at 17, and the barometer is rising. Today's high was 40, the morning low 27, 18/100ths of an inch of precipitation since midnight. Here's my forecast now for tonight. Colder with some very light snow or snow flurries as temperatures dip down mid-teens to low 20s. Tomorrow, it'll be varying amounts of cloudiness and cold. Could even see some flurries of snow in the morning, but highs only upper teens to low 20s, and that north wind will keep the wind chill probably below 0 tomorrow. For Wednesday, quite a bit of cloudiness, some sunshine and cold, highs mid-teens to low 20s.
Winter's back.
Yes, sir, it sure is.
Sports is back next, too.
Indiana, you're entering into the cellular dimension. Yes, cellular telephones from the Indianapolis Telephone Company are here. Cellular mobile telephones from the Indianapolis Telephone Company offer you complete mobility wherever you go in central Indiana. Cellular service from the Indianapolis Telephone Company makes your time more productive. Yes, Indiana, you're entering the cellular dimension. The Indianapolis Telephone Company, the cellular professionals.
Jonathan, time for dinner.
Remember the good old-fashioned days when you'd actually fall in love with your car? Your old friends remember, and they've brought them back with the new Cutlass Supreme, America's best-selling midsize car, and the front-wheel drive Cutlass Sierra. They're proof positive that old-fashioned values are always in style.
Jonathan, time for breakfast. We've got those good old-fashioned values. Hurry, boys, we're running late.
Not every morning goes off just like clockwork. That's why Bob Evans Farms is introducing a new brown and served sausage. It's the only brown and served delivered fresh from the farm with all the hams and tenderloins included. So a brown and served morning can still be a Bob Evans morning.
Great breakfast, Mom. Let's be late tomorrow.
New Bob Evans brown and served sausage. We do it right or we don't do it.
Next on Barney Miller, there's a lady in pain.
You mean she's in labor?
I don't know, but I think it's too late for that.
This is my wife, and she's already had 2 children of her own.
Es la esposa del capitán. Ya ha tenido 2 hijos ella.
Aquí? Perfect. From the top of his head to the tip of his nose.
Yeah, the kid ain't that bad either.
Barney Miller, weeknights at 11:30 on 6, The Leader.
Now to sports on a busy Monday for college basketball.
Lots of things cooking in college basketball. Hello, everybody. The NCAA has moved from 53 to 64 teams qualifying for their postseason tourney starting next year. This could be the beginning of the end for the NIT. Meanwhile, the ratings in AP, no changes in the top 5. The combined record for that group, 53-2. 7th-ranked Houston, the only top 10 team with 2 losses. Illinois cracks the elite group 9th this week. They were 14th. Now we're the Big Ten teams in the top 20 right now. Now in action tonight, Kentucky and Alabama down in Lexington. Alabama looked like this was going to be the night to knock off the Wildcats. 50-47, they had the lead as Eric Richardson hit Terry Williams, who scored 20 in the game. Richardson went out. Kentucky slapped on the press, and it was one slam dunk after another. 16-2 scoring spurt in 4.5 minutes. Kenny Walker scored 17, and a 76-66 final in favor of Kentucky. Georgetown had no trouble with Monmouth. Pat Ewing had 19 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 block shots. Clemson knocked off North Carolina State. It was Oral Roberts over Evansville, Southern Illinois down Indiana State. Butler lost to Detroit. That game was 60-58 with 2.5 minutes to go, but they couldn't get the job done. Also, it was IUPUI a winner tonight. The Purdue Boilermakers got some good news today. Center Jim Rowinski was named Big Ten Player of the Week by both UPI and AP. He scored 45 points and produced 2 conference wins. Brian Hammonds was at the Boilermaker practice today.
Purdue is locked in a 3-way tie for the top spot in the Big Ten with 2 wins in this young conference season, both coming at home over Wisconsin and Minnesota. But you're supposed to win at home. Now Boilermakers must take to the road, and we all know how tough that can be. Playing on the road in the Big Ten is kind of like going to the dentist. You may not enjoy it, but it's something that has to be done.
In the Big Ten, winning on the road is really tough wherever you go. We're just going to have to keep intense. I think our defense is going to have to be a real big factor in how we control the tempo of the game.
We say very little about it, so we don't want to, become concerned about something you can't control anyway. So all you've got to do is go there mentally tough, and hopefully you execute on offense and do those things you want to do on defense, and everything might turn out okay for you. But I think the more you talk about it, the more over concerned they become, and the floor's the same size. You just got to do the things you can do.
The Boilers will start their road trip Thursday night at Ohio State, then travel to Bloomington Saturday to face the Indiana Hoosiers. By the end of this week, we should know how good Purdue really is. From Mackey Arena, this is Brian Hammonds with Channel 6 Sports.
The USFL has done it again. They got the cream of the college football crop to sign on the dotted line before the NFL even got in the picture. Last year, Herschel Walker. This year, Mike Rozier, the Nebraska running back who dashed, slashed, bruised, and banged his way for nearly 2,200 yards this year alone, 29 touchdowns, put his name on a 3-year deal with the Pittsburgh Maulers worth about $3 million guaranteed dollars, whether or not the USFL succeeds. Will the league succeed? I got a hunch maybe it will. There seems to be an incredible amount of money involved with these teams. Owners willing to spend tons on their new toys, these franchises. If the TV contract improves, if they continue to get the caliber of players like Walker, Rozier, Collinsworth, and others, who knows? Certainly, like impending strikes, franchise movement, and drug use among players, the USFL is causing big headaches in NFL corporate offices. Well, he's got 50 goals in 42 games. He's moving towards smashing his own seemingly unreachable records. He is Wayne Gretzky, and he led his high-flying Edmonton Oilers into Detroit tonight. Watch him make the steal here right out in front of the net. Pops one in for the 52nd straight game that he has scored at least a point. He scored 2 goals in the contest. 7-3 was the final. And our Indiana Pacers had the night off. They will be at Chicago tomorrow night.
All right, Ken, and we'll be back in a moment.
Pillsbury introduces something new and fudgy. Something new and moist and double chocolatey. Pillsbury introduces new spread and bake fudge brownies.
Oh, that poppin' fresh stuff.
From package to pan to brownies, baking up so moist and fudgy, rich and chocolatey. Oh, new Pillsbury spread and bake fudge brownies.
Poppin' fresh stuff.
It's new.
On a wonderful day like today, I defy any cloud to appear in the sky, dare any raindrop to pop in my eye. On a wonderful day like today.
Subaru presents the only full line of on-demand four-wheel drive vehicles in America. So now, every day can be
A wonderful day like today.
See the new exciting 1984 Subaru at your local Subaru dealer today.
We've taken inventory, and do you know what we have? Big savings on items for the whole family. Save 20 to 50% on women's, misses, and juniors' coats. Men save 25 to 33% on Famous Maker wool and acrylic blend sweaters. In Block's home store, Famous Maker sheets start at just $3.99 and save on 5-piece Noritake dinnerware sets. Inventory is over, but the savings are just beginning. Block's after inventory sale starts Tuesday.
I believe in working out in order to feel good. I believe in eating right to look the way I should. I believe in Crystal Light, 'cause I believe in me.
New Crystal Light drink mix is sweetened with 100% NutraSweet, so there's absolutely no saccharin and no saccharin aftertaste. All these natural flavors taste so terrific.
It's hard to believe there's only 4 calories a glass. I believe in Crystal Light, 'cause I believe in me.
Finally tonight, Reagan administration officials say preparations are being made for an announcement tomorrow that Washington will reestablish formal diplomatic ties with the Vatican. The U.S. and the Vatican have not had diplomatic ties in 116 years. That's our news for now. Thanks and a very good evening.
Good night.
It's finally hit home. Your child and drugs. Koala Center's adolescent program is the answer. Call today.
What you see is what you get in light and elegant.
Oh, what you see is what you get in light and elegant.
What you see is what you get in light and elegant.
Light and elegant frozen entrees. Deliciously elegant entrees. All less than 300 calories.
So what you see is what you light and elegant.
Bonded. Value. For over 50 years, Bonded has stood for value in gasoline. Quality. Convenience. 2 other Bonded traditions. Today, nothing's changed. Bonded customers still expect and receive quality, convenience, and more than ever, value. Day in and day out, your best gasoline value is at Bonded. Everybody's value stop.
Take a vitamin D and up, sense for later.
Coffee ready yet?
Here you go. For the last time.
Hey, what do you mean last time? Are we running out of coffee?
No, you're running out of me.